Hello, Fearless Gamers, Matt here for Fearless Games, and welcome to another video unboxing. Today's going to be a very special unboxing. This is going to be for a Kickstarter that I wasn't 100% sure when I was going to see it. This is Hyperspace from Sandy Peterson Games. For those that want to just see the unboxing, cut to the time right here down below. If you're interested in hearing a little bit of history here, because this game does have a very there's a kind of interesting timetable that this game has gone through. So the game went up on Kickstarter, and it successfully crowdfunded on Kickstarter in 2019. I want to say it was February that it closed out on, and it's made by Sandy Peterson Games. Sandy Peterson he was a known game developer. He worked on the first two Doom games, the first three Age of Empire games. His company did the Call of Cthulhu RPG, as well as the game Cthulhu Wars. And so it was in my opinion, it was a safe bet to kickstart this game, because that's what I kind of was using as a basis for a lot of my kickstarts, was if the company that was making it had been successful in the past, and if it was a game none of my other friends were getting. That way, because we were having, at the time, we had this problem where we were all buying the exact same games, and I was trying to be different so we had more variety in our gaming group. And this game looked very interesting. It's basically an empire building game out in space with these Cthulhu-inspired races. One of them is called the Star Children, and they're basically Cthulhus. So when I saw it, I was kind of thinking about how in some of the Cthulhu mythos, there is these talks of conflicts and interactions with intergalactic space empires and such. So I kind of was like, oh, this might be based off of that unknown mythos that we only get glimpses of. And the game was funded. Everything was good. When the pledge manager hit with the shipping, paid for it, I upgraded to the Starship Captain, which was the second highest level in the game. That got you everything, including the human civilization, which he didn't want to put in the game. He wanted humans to be not part of this game, but just for essentially an incentive to get more people to purchase the maximum game set. He threw it in as you could only get it for the Starship Captain, so I got that because I couldn't pick which civilizations I wanted to have, because I only did originally the backer that gave you 3 extras, so I decided to just go all in. Then that's when things started getting a little troublesome. They got the paper products, they got their game, they picked out their colors and all that. Everything started to look good. Then that's when things started to run into issues, was with the models. They went and hired the model company that worked on all of the Awakened Realm games at the time, because the concept for a lot of the minis that they had were very high detail and very unique. And this was kind of like a magnum opus game for the Sandy Peterson company. This was the game they really wanted to make sure was out there before, so a lot of the family members of the company could see it and play it. So they decided to go with a newer company, thinking they'll make the models faster, it'll be a much more streamlined process. And what ended up happening was a dual issue. First issue being, on the Sandy Peterson side, it was lack of accountability to it, is the best way I could describe it. Essentially, he contacted the model company guys, they came back with their prototypes, and they're like, some of the models didn't look right. Some of them were sagging, some of them were missing pieces, and they just didn't look the way they envisioned. And they said, what was going on? And the company said, this is the best we could do. Those files are way too complicated, the designs are way too complicated. This is the best we can do. Some of those defects, that's just the nature, you can't fix that. And they called them out on that, going, we've seen what you've done for Awakened Realms, you can definitely do this, that's not the problem. Then they started going on about, oh, well, we need to retool, we need to redesign some of the CAD files to make them work in the tooling process, and then we can get this going. So they were like, okay, how long is it going to take? They gave them a timeline, and they went, okay, sure, call us when you're ready. Then the timeline passed, and nothing came back. And the guy who was managing the game just was basically like, okay, they'll get to me, they'll call me when it's ready. And after, I think, a month or so of no info, they finally reached out, and they're like, oh, out of like the 15 that we did, we were able to fix 3 of them. We're going to need more time for the rest of them. And then it got blew up. It was like, you promised me 3 months, what's going on? You only did 3 of them, blah, 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 blah. And they promised them they would have a dedicated team to work on Hyperspace miniatures, and it was a whole big thing. It mainly boiled down to the person who was in charge of managing the production of Hyperspace was being very lax in their communication, taking the model company at their word. Okay, you said it'll be 3 months. They waited 3 months, and then were like, you know what? I'll just wait. They'll call me when they're ready. The model production company was doing, I guess they just didn't want to do the models, or just like, this is just another job, so they kind of had no drive to do anything, and they were like, well, he's not pressing us for this, so we'll just put this on the back burner until they press this on this. And they were taking advantage of them believing that they would get back to them at a timely manner. So, lack of accountability and an exploitation of that. Then the real effects of COVID really kicked in, and Sandy Peterson the Sandy Peterson games started having financial issues. And it got down to the point where they weren't producing any of the current games that they had because of shutdowns and everything. So they weren't bringing in enough money to keep the company afloat. They ended up having to fire the majority of the staff. I think there was only like 2 people left when it was done. And they had to switch gears. And they were like, we're going to have to do this slow and 1 game at a time. And there was like 2 games or so ahead of Hyperspace. And they're like, we got to finish those games. Once those games are finished, we'll look into doing Hyperspace. That's when a lot of the doom and gloom happened on the Kickstarter. Everyone was going, oh, they're stealing our money, they're ripping us off, we're never going to see the game. They started looking into maybe joining a partnership with Catalyst Games. That didn't go through, and then they sent a message to all the backers about a new mysterious partner, which ended up being this up-and-coming company called Quimby Games. And it was going to be a match made in heaven. Sandy Peterson Games would focus solely on designing the games and creating the rules. Quimby Games would work on the production, the marketing, the manufacturing, the production, the selling, all of that side that Sandy's crew wasn't the best at doing. And they openly admit it. Their thing is game designing. They're not really good at the business end of, production management and sales and all that stuff. So, they were doing fine on their own, but, it was the one side of the business they always struggled with. And Quimby Games was going to take care of all of that. And Quimby Games had this huge ambition of going to be an all-American game company. Nothing coming out of China. They were going to produce all the artwork. They were going to manufacture all the paper products. They were going to CAD design, tool, and produce all the models here in the U.S. because they're both of them were U.S.-based companies, so they were cutting out the middleman. And Quimby Games would then manage shipping it out to other countries, to other stores, and all that other jazz. And it was going to be the perfect setup for them. Sandy Peterson could work on their games. Quimby Games could make them hit the market and take care of all of that busy work. So they came up with a plan. They were going to work on Cthulhu Wars, Onslaught 4, Planet Apocalypse, and a standee version of Hyperspace. The reason for that was because of finances. Their plan was they would make a standee version what they called the standard edition of Hyperspace. Once they got enough money to recoup their losses, they would then go on to get the modeled version of the game, the one that we kickstarted, and that would be the deluxe edition, which was only going to be available for anyone that was on the Kickstarter. So it was going to be a super exclusive thing. Well, when Quimbley Games went in to do all of this, they didn't really realize how much of an undertaking they were taking on this. They bought all the machinery, they bought a warehouse. Ironically, all the machinery that they had to buy came from China. They spent like a good $2 million or even more maybe on to get everything set up. And then they realized one of the reasons that a lot of these game producers do everything in China is because wages are different, costs are different, code is building and business coding for what they had to provide for the shops and all that was different. And to do everything in the US, that was going to make the games cost a lot more. The deluxe edition, as they were calling it now, or the Kickstarter version of Hyperspace, was going to cost double what they were charging us to get the game produced. And so they realized, Quimbley Games basically realized what they were trying to do wasn't going to be feasible. The games would just be so expensive that no one would buy them and they would just go out of business. So Quimbley Games kind of fell through, and Sandy Peterson had to go through a long legal battle with Quimbley to get his stuff back because he had merged with Quimbley Games. Quimbley Games now owned all of his IP, owned all of his warehouse stock, and all that jazz. So they had to do this whole thing for them to get their stock back into their hands, get their IP backs, and under their full total control. And that's where we got to today, where they released the standard edition of Hyperspace. This was product made with their partnership through Quimbley Games. In fact, when they did when they got their production run, it actually still said Quimbley Games on the boxes because that's where it was supposed to go. And the plan was to use the Standy edition and other sales to try and build up money to get the Kickstarter version of Hyperspace set up. And so this is what this is. This is the Standy edition. So there was an offer they made for all of us who did Kickstarter if you did Starship Captain or higher, or if you wanted to, when they reopened the Pledge Manager, you could upgrade to the Starship Captain, and you would get a code for a free copy of the standard edition of Hyperspace. You just had to pay for shipping. And I decided that if the shipping wasn't too bad, I would do it. This way, I'd get a copy of the game now, and they said anyone that took this offer, when they are ready to do the deluxe edition, they would basically note that we got the standard edition and mail us everything that's missing from this to turn this into the Kickstarter version that we bought. And my mindset was, if I do this, at the very least, if the game doesn't come out, I'm not losing hope just yet that it will. It looked very rough in the beginning, but he's been making the commitment to getting it done. So I do have a faith that he will eventually get to making the deluxe edition. But on the off chance it just doesn't work out, at least I got something for my Kickstarter. It's not what I kickstarted, but it is the game in some version. So now, with all that out of the way, we're going to unbox this version of the game. So, as I said, if this is the standard edition, there's no models. This is all standees and paper components. So if you went to Sandy Peterson's store right now, you can buy this, and this will be the exact same thing you're getting. So anyone who buys this, even if they didn't do the Kickstarter, this is the same version. If we get the deluxe edition, we'll unbox all of that stuff too. And this is 2 pieces. This is the core game, and it is an expansion called the Nova expansion. So there we go. Top box is the Nova expansion. This adds some extra civilizations. Like, if I recall correct, this basically was like, I guess the three main core ones. Let's see. Yeah, this one. It comes with 4 civilizations. I guess these were the 4 major ones that he wanted to add, that he wanted to make sure everybody got. And it allows you to play up to 6 players. The game initially is 4-player. This makes it where you can play up to 6-player. And so we got that. My box is all ripped up, but what are you gonna do? And then we got the core box here. So, yep, this is 2 to 4 players. And let's pop this open. As you can see, like I said, looks like my box was a little damaged. To be perfectly honest, for me, as long as it holds the pieces, I'm fine with that. So, let's take a look here. So, like I said, you got the game box. Let me just quickly remove the tape. There we go. And is there... Oh, damn, there's tape on the other sides. So let's see what is inside this game. Oh, come on, what do you mean? There we go. So, like I said, we got our box right here. And, that went all the way through. I think that's the first time that's ever happened. Oh, it actually still says Quimbly's Toys and Games. So that was the company that helped get this paper product version of it. So this is the rulebook for it. Let's see, it is 47 pages. Looks like 47-page rulebook, not too bad. So chances are this is like the first run, so I'll know forever that this was the original print run of this. I'm betting once he runs through this, now that everything's gone through, they'll probably get rid of Quimbly games and it'll probably be replaced with Sandy Peterson in later prints. And so we got what looks like these are the token ships. This is all the paper products, the game, the maps, and the civilization cards. We'll take a look at that in a minute. We got dice, different sets. It looks like we've got D6s, D8s, D12s, and D10s. We got one small set of cards here. And we got another really tiny set of cards right here. Interesting. I'm gonna see if I'm gonna have to check my game mat later to see if any of the sizes from Kingsleeve will fit these. Then we've got looks like a set of standard size cards, and feels like there's something underneath here. And okay, looks like these are all locations that you can all visit. So these are essentially your game boards for that. Yep. So we got our game boards here. Got this weird piece here, not sure what this is. Maybe it goes somewhere. Or maybe it's a tracker of some sort. I'll have to look in the rulebook later to see. But the art on these isn't anything. So we got this piece here. Let's see. Okay, this is like your starting point it seems that goes like right there. You got your art on the thing, not bad. You know, pretty simple, straightforward game cards. Very nice uniformal art. I like the star space. I like the space background. That it's not too not overly complex, so it doesn't like steal the show away from the planet. And the planets all look pretty unique, which is pretty nice. Like I said, not too shabby. That's just a sampling of some of the different planet cards that you can go through. Okay. And let's put that down there for there. There's more planet cards here. And then looking at this, these are the little standees for all the players. We got player 1, player 2, player 3, which is purple, blue, yellow, and green. Okay, now we can put this back on top. And let's just see real quick. So, yeah, like, see, so you would place your map up using these setups here. So the map can change, it looks like, throughout the game, which is really nice. You know, makes it a little easier to make it a little different. Yes, that is a game piece of some sort. And let's take a look at the paper products real quick. Right off the bat, the only thing I can see here that might be problematic is just storage. Oh no, wait, it looks like this, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. I'll get to that in a minute, but that's clever. That's pretty neat. So this is the victory point tracker card for the game. These are the player cards for all the different races. So it gives you a profile of like what the aliens look like, which is cool. 2, 3, 4. So you only got the 4 civs in the base game. I will put you to the side for right now, because again, I am going to. I kind of like that, so I'll hold on to that for a second. But we got some tokens here. Looking pretty good. Got some tokens here. These are spaceships for all the different civilizations. And the quality of these is not too shabby. So they do pop out really easily, which in my opinion is a good indicator of the quality of the pegboards, at least of the token boards, because I've had a couple where the tokens rip and while taking them out, and you end up ruining the finish on them. So they do come out really easy, which is nice, kind of less risk of damaging the cards. So here's some more tokens that we have here, and these are the stands of all the different stuff. So like these guys will eventually these guys should be turned into models if the game gets to the model version. This was one of the models that they tried to claim they couldn't help. So this is supposed to kind of be like a U shape, kind of like the Trade Federation space station. And this top piece here, the prototype, it was sagging. And this part here that was supposed to be flat was kind of like curling up. Basically, if you guys kind of like did 3D printing, it did a lot of warping. And they were just like, oh yeah, you can't stop that. And like I said, I've seen some of the models this company has made for Awaken Games that shouldn't have been an issue. And then we've got our more tokens, double-sided, always good. These are bases, so you would put these on. These would help indicate like what resources and such you're managing on the planet. You would put these little spaceships down for that. And this thing, which again I thought was really cool, because one of the first things I was sitting there going, Oh man, the one problem with this is organization. It comes with an organizer that you build. So you take the box out and you lay this down to be your organizer. So really cool that they kind of thought of that. Because I was sitting there going, how are you supposed to put all this is a token heavy game and they expect you to put it with this? So that's really cool. You know, that's cool. I wish more games did that, where they would kind of think of essentially they go, okay, like they basically went, you know, this was how we can pack, this is the organizer we need to pack this to ship it out. But then they came up with this little nice cool solution for when you get the game and you need to play it. So props, Sandy. Really good. I thought that's a really good idea. Okay, put that away. And so that is the core game. That is the core game here, and you see here it actually, it's a sticker. There's a sticker here which says Peterson Games, always a monster. I bet if I peeled that sticker off, it says Quimbly Games. And that sticker is everywhere. Yep, that sticker's everywhere. Most likely right above that it says Quimbly Games. I'm not gonna check to see, but that's my guess. And the same sticker's right here. So this here is the expansion pack. And looks like something snuck in on the side there. Let's see. All right. Okay. So yeah, interesting. Wonder what this is. Yeah, this was just stuck in the side of the box. I'll have to take a look. And it still says Quimbly Games. This is the fabled Nova expansion. It adds 4 civilizations to your Hyperspace game. The Automata, the Salaps, the Star Spawn, and the Zebzerg. You can mix and match these civilizations freely with the civilizations in Hyperspace core game, visually expanding your opportunities for fun. In addition, now you can play with up to 6 players at a time. This expansion supplies everything you need, all the generic units, markers, and tokens for 2 more players. All that is left is for everyone to pick their favorite civ or choose one randomly and set up your game to play. The Hyperspace rulebook that came with Hyperspace core game covers any rules requiring the Nova expansion, including FAQs about the 4 new civs. Okay, so we got, again, as mentioned, maybe these they're supposed to go there. I don't know. So we got more paper products. So this is everything to play the new civs, and extra tokens to make up for the fact that there's 2 extra players in the game. Clips, black and white clips for standees for the additional players, and some new extra planets, some new extra civilization planets as well. And some new cards. And like I said, I don't know what this is. I really don't. Wonder if is it the same thing and they just accidentally put in 2? Cannibalism, Francis, braincast, supervision. Oh no, these are more cards for these civilizations here. Interesting. I'll have to take a look, cause weird. So it looks like one set is for a set of aliens, and the other is for. These are definitely for the races that came in this expansion. I think this is an extra set of cards that accidentally got scooped in
to my box unintentionally. I'll have to... Interesting. So I'll have to solve that mystery later. This one, I'll say the packaging, like the box is in better condition, but this wasn't very well foiled in there. But again, it was probably packed when they were trying to, after Quimbly Games and them kind of fell through. So we got more tokens, extra bases, extra panels for the monsters and all that jazz. And then we got our extra cards. The Slaps, the Star Spawn, and the Zebzerg. These guys are really cool. I kind of like how they look. Let's say the alien designs and the creature designs on these things are phenomenal. But yes, so that is the entire thing. Like I said, now at the very least, if the deluxe edition never happens, I at least have something for my money. And if I do get the other stuff, then we'll do another unboxing so you can see all the minis and all the civilizations that are missing from this. And I am excited to play this game, mainly for the fact that I didn't know if I was going to actually get to play it. So this is going to go on the shelf, and I'm going to try and see if I can get a game in anytime soon. And if I can, I'll give you guys a review of that as well. So how many of you guys were Kickstarter backers for the original game? Did you opt in for the offer for backers for this, or are you done with the game? Let me know in the comments. And thank you all for watching, and until next time, fearless gamers, take care.